guess what? Today is a great day to be healthy and to be happy. I am so happy today, not only because I'm healthy, but also because I am joined by my co-founder, Christian. And I'm really happy because for the past 10 years, I've been convincing him that he also needs to voice out about our company, about the research, and all the amazing things that we have been doing and still are doing. But I've always been met with resistance. But today, I have been able to convince him, possibly through some threats. But anyway, I got him here. He's still,
I'm still not sure whether or not this is a good idea.
and that's the reason why he is behind the camera, literally. But you'll be able to hear his voice.
Well, that was the only way I agreed to do this. You wouldn't want to see me on camera, so
He's being humble. However, let's keep working on that in terms of getting him in front of camera. But in the meantime,
never going to happen.
It's yours truly in front of you. And I want to start by saying thank you so much for all of your support, for the 10,000 subscribers who tune in every single week to our program, be it through the notes, article, live videos, podcast, as well as video.
Seriously, 10,000.
We have 10,000 subscribers.
10,000?
Yes, and every single month, from 3 platforms, aggregated numbers of people who consume our media is 180,000 people. And that is amazing. I'm so humbled that we have that platform to put things out there. They are science-based, they are practical, cutting through the noise and hype. And that's the reason why I want you, Christian, to be on this show, because first of all, a lot of people are still asking how did I make the transformation and the move from being a scientist to being a small business owner to being an entrepreneur, because they all have learned and have heard the stories about me and my grandma and how my grandma inspired me to make this science available on shelves. However, there's a part of the story that people probably have never heard before, because it's not very natural for someone who work in the lab as a researcher, as a scientist, to have this all of this knowledge and all of these practical moves in business. And I have to say that for the very first time here, you hear first time here on this show that I didn't do it alone. And that's the reason why you're my co-founder. So take it away, Christian.
Well, I don't know what to say to that, except that it's been really quite an incredible journey. I'm not as articulate as Dr. Vincent, and certainly not as schooled in doing these podcasts. So everyone's going to have to forgive me. This is the very first podcast that I've ever done in my entire life. I can't believe Dr. Vincent has convinced me to do it, especially to sort of 10,000 people out there, reaching 180,000 people in total or something. It's just a little bit scary. So this is my first time.
It's okay, I'll guide you.
Please, Dr. Vincent, guide me through this.
It's called Ask Dr. Vincent, but maybe with you, let me ask you some questions, right? The first question is that, how did we meet?
Well, that's it's a fortuitous story. I mean, it was
pun intended.
It was completely by accident. I was one day shopping, believe it or not, for fish oil tablets, and I went into this health food store in the Queen Victoria building in Sydney, and there was Dr. Vincent behind the counter. And actually, I was looking through all the fish oil tablets, and some of the fish oil tablets are like $15 for 600, and others are like $60 for 30, and I was very confused as to the price difference and the quantity difference and all that sort of stuff. So I went up to ask, and I'm not really someone who in the past had taken a lot of supplements. It's not something that I'd been doing. So I went up to ask, and Dr. Vincent just laid out everything for me. I mean, just everything in terms of the background, the qualities of fish oil,
The
what
differences
various
in
ones,
price.
differences in price, whether you're taking 2 tablets or 1 tablet or whatever it was, and I just looked at him and I just said to him, "Okay, so, what do you do other than this, other than stand behind a counter in a health food store?" And then he, told me the story about how he was just completing his PhD, and I just went, "PhD? Are you sure? Wasn't that like, aren't you talking about, like, your degree?" And he said, "No, no, no, PhD," and because he's far too young, to have one of those, and we got into talking about it a bit, and he told me about this absolutely amazing discovery, that he had made, which is obviously the reason why someone so young, was about to be awarded their PhD, and the amazing discovery was the activated phenolics. So I said to him, "Well, okay, that sounds really exciting. What are you doing with it?" And then he said, "Well, the university's helping me to get a patent, and we're thinking about working and doing this with it." And I just said to him, "Nah, that's not going to work," because my background was a little bit in business and that sort of stuff. So I
And Christian has worked in the commercialization unit of various different academic background or institution or organization. So when he said that, and he explained this to me, he actually had an authority or an experience uh, uh, to speak for, and that's the reason why I trusted him in terms of at that time literally navigating the strategy and the plan for this piece of technology.
Yeah, and actually, what you told me about it was so convincing, because it's not often that someone invents an entirely new substance, like an entirely new substance, that is so versatile, and has such a profound effect and potential to have an enormously profound effect on human health, that I actually got quite excited about it there, in the shop. And I just said to him, "Look around you. This is where your product belongs on these shelves, and we got to get it out to sort of the wider community." And there's a couple of things that are absolutely necessary in the commercialization of any product and building a business and that sort of thing. So I gave him 3 impossible tasks, to achieve. But I said to him, if you achieved these 3 things, then I'd come on board, and then I would help you. And that was back in 2015.
That was back in 2015, and well, obviously, as much as I want to share, and as much as Christian is excited to share about these 3 impossible tasks, but clearly there needs to be things that are kept secret, including the secret sauce. So I wouldn't go too much into the 3 impossible tasks, mainly because
Except that you achieved them. You did it.
except
You
that I
just
achieved
you
them.
you you did
Yes,
them all. So then I was stuck. I was like, "Okay, well, I told this guy that I'd come on board if he did these 3 things. He did them,
and
so."
I did that, and but what I think would be fascinating for people who have been listening so far and understand about the journey is that what was your first reaction when I insisted that the company was to be named Renovatio? Something that you said this is hard to pronounce, is impossible to spell, but you still went with it. And I just also want to say that if my eyes are looking weird and looking that way, that's because that's where Christian is. Okay, go, Christian.
So I guess, in building up, a business, one of the most important things is that the person who's gonna do all the work, or the vast majority of the work, has that sort of constant motivation to get things done and really, really owns it. And the name of something, like you're naming your child or whatever,
In
it's
a lot
it's
of ways,
it is a lot.
it is a child, it is
That's
a
exactly
baby,
right.
right?
That's exactly right. And if I was going to expect you to work as hard as you have, in building up this, as a product that's now in 2,000 stores and all that sort of stuff. Um,
8 different countries.
8 different countries, hundreds of thousands of people who take it. It couldn't be named by me. It had to be named by Vincent, and Renovatio was the name that he wanted for it. And importantly, that name had a meaning, and that's actually a very special meaning. So why don't you talk about that?
Well, the name Renovatio, even though it sounds like we're in a construction business or in the design term, it is actually not renovation. The root word is the same, but Renovatio in Latin means new life. And it was inspired by my grandma because my grandma told me after I helped her to walk again from being wheelchair bound, to dance again, to be happy again. She told me that I essentially have given her a new life in the way that she could be healthier and happier. And that really stuck with me because not very often, I mean, you can ask any scientist, including myself, and I would bet a lot of money actually that 99% of them would tell you the reason why they got into science and the reason why they wanted to become a scientist was to help people, to make a change in the world, to make a world a better place, or in my case, a healthier place. And not very often the first person whose life I changed was my own grandma. And that really stuck with me. The thing that my grandma told me that I need to use this piece of technology to help people. And Christian, I remember you told me that building a business from the ground up is not going to be easy. And that part of information that you told me also play into this naming of the company because like you said, if I was going to do this and if I was going to really pour my life and attention and effort, invest my time, it needs to be something that's worthwhile. And once in a while, I do need a reminder and a motivation as to, especially when times got tough, I need this reminder that the reason why I'm doing this is to help people to be healthy and to be happy. And the name Renovasi, you cannot escape it, right? If it's the name of your company, it's the name on the door, there's a constant reminder in a positive way.
Absolutely, that's exactly right, and I guess we sort of took the Renovatio as the main brand, and then we expanded it out into the apple a day,
Because an
because
apple a day keeps the doctor away. And
exactly.
people who know this have always been really fascinated that we actually own the trademark of an apple a day in Australia and three other countries because our products are rooted in these amazing Australian apples, and we if anyone needs to own this phrase, and please forgive me for being a little bit too proud, not arrogant, just too proud about Australian apples, it should be us.
No, absolutely, and then we also expanded it out into the app skin or AP skin.
Christian invented this term. We were
Am I taking the blame for that? Am I?
no, it is not. It is a compliment. App skin, apple skin, activated phenolic skin. We actually had. I don't know if you remember this, Christian, but we actually had other name, another name entirely different.
No, I remember Invigorate.
No, that is in
That
figure.
Invigorate was because we had the 8 different types of antioxidants because, the substance that we invented, or you invented, sorry, not me, the activated phenolics includes all 8 antioxidants.
And this is. I'm sure. Please don't come at me for repeating this. I'm sure all of you have heard that we are the only true broad spectrum antioxidants from single source. And that's what Christian was referring to when we were picking the name. However, guess what? It had been trademarked by other companies, and I'm like seriously, it's not. We can't even just add the number 8, or we can't even just add a different spelling because the term itself has been trademarked in various formats and various iteration by different companies. So Christian said that let's just go literal. Apple skin, activated phenolic skin, and there you go, app skin. And it's such a great name. I only have one complaint, Christian. Even you yourself, you can't even decide whether it's AP skin or app skin.
I think it's important that the Renovatio community decide what they want to call the product, and I think mostly people call it app skin. Is that right?
Mostly people call it app skin, you're right, but sometimes people call it AP skin or Apple skin. And I love that because from the very beginning, our community of people who supported us and continue to support us are they are the backbone of our success.
They absolutely are, and the way that the community built so quickly. I mean, Yes, it's been a wild ride since 2015, getting the first products on the shelf in 2016, starting out with one store, now at 2,000. That's a pretty wild ride. But all the time, this very, very loyal community.
How many times from 2015, from one product in one store to now, uh, more than a dozen products, SKUs in 2,000 stores at countries, how many times have you considered killing me?
Oh, I think that varies. That's that from anything from once a week, um, to once a month, probably.
Well, I thank you for your honesty. 10,000 people, you'll be my witness. I have a card that says that Christian did it. anyway, he just said this to me. Let's go back to the topic because I want to explain a little bit about the premise of this series. The reason why I want a Christian to be on this because from the very beginning it was the two of us that really built this for everyone every day healthier happier life, and I want this series to be just like that. So over the course of these few months and hopefully for few years if you would still have us, Christian and I would talk about different topics that make up our lives. A lot of times when I write the article, when I go on radio or when I'm being interviewed on TV, you see the professional, a little bit rigid, structured Dr. Vincent. But for the very first time, I'm going to be blunt in a good way, very open, and no topics, no things off the topics. I will talk about everything. I will answer any
You're going to
question from
answer
Christian.
any question I ask you. Is that right?
Yes, I will answer any
On
question
any topic.
on any topic.
This sounds very dangerous.
I have been on radio for 3 years. This is my fourth season, so I know how to clean it up for on air. Don't worry.
Well, as a as part of my DNA, I'm pretty skeptical actually about quite a lot of things.
And I think you should be because now, with 80% of Australians, not only young Australians, Australians at any age, we all get our health advice from social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And I think a little bit of skepticism is important because you need to question what you're consuming from the media because people are chasing hype and virality. I feel that it's very hard for people like me, like true scientists, to actually cut through the noise and give people the science answers to everything.
I think the most difficult thing to do as someone, especially as you're aging and you want to, sort of remain healthy, is to do exactly that. That's what you're talking about, sort of cut through what's real, what isn't. Sure, I see this young, beautiful person telling me, I need to, put lights on my face, or I need to, use this particular cream on my feet, or whatever. But what's the actual science behind that? Where has that come from? Has that just been made up? I mean, it's basically almost impossible to tell, and you just have this attractive person telling you that it works for them, and therefore, give it a go, and then you convince yourself that it works for you or whatever, and suddenly you're in this spiral of using something maybe that isn't doing anything for you at all. Like, how do you?
Well, that is probably the best case scenario if these things, this hype, this trend, this new health trend is not doing anything for you. In a lot of cases, some of these health trends are actually damaging your health.
Yeah, that I think there were some recent ones, weren't there? It's like the
The vitamin B6 toxicity.
B6 toxicity, like people taking all this stuff.
And the worst thing out of that is that out of these stories that people don't actually know what they're doing to their body.
Yeah, well, it's about probably more about the sort of long term, like these impacts sneak up on you. They mightn't happen to you straight away, or that sort of thing, and a lot of young people too with gym supplements.
Yeah,
Taking too
because
much.
apparently to be attractive and to be manly and to be masculine, you have to be like a certain size in terms of the muscles and everything. And a lot of people they sacrifice long term health and men, including their sexual health and sexual organs, and really messing up with their hormone just for to achieve that ideal body shape that
I mean,
apparently are accepted.
I mean, that's the testosterone and the and sort of the steroid side of things, but there's also the creatine, and seeing things on Instagram about people taking very high doses of creatine.
And basically putting their
Absolutely
kidneys
crazy. They
on
could,
overload
yeah,
and
they could
over time.
end up in the hospital. Like, anyway, so I think to have the opportunity to maybe talk about some of these topics and talk about really what works for you. Not only not only the Renovatio products, but maybe some of the other products out there that actually do something for for people. I mean, a lot of people use fish oil and that sort of stuff. It's not a product, obviously, Renovatio does, but we could maybe talk about what health benefits there are for that, and a few other things.
And as always, you can submit your questions. Again, nothing is off limit. You can ask anything, and Christian will curate the question and ask me that question. And I also, and let us know if you don't want us to mention your name. You can ask a question anonymously, because sometimes I know things are a little bit. It's hard to ask questions sometimes because you don't really want that stigma, or you don't want to be defined by a question. But this is a safe space and place. I also want to give you a little bit of a snippets in terms of the things that we're going to talk about, because everybody consider their body, their house. We live in our body, and like any house, you have different rooms in the house. And the way that I am navigating through this series in my mind, and I haven't actually shared this with Christian, but I want us to talk about things that happens in every room of the house, from the kitchen, from the bathroom, from your garden to your bedroom. And because all of these things make up a life.
That's exactly right, and unless you're talking about all of those things, you're not covering the I guess the broad spectrum of the experience. I'd like to link some of it obviously back to some of the obviously ways that supplements and that sort of thing can help people, because that's why we're here. I mean, that's why Renovatio
I know.
exists. It's to help people.
And the reason why I think Christian, you'll remember this. One of the questions that we got asked all the time, especially when we first launched, was that, so what is the product activated phenolics for? What does it do? And at the beginning, we struggle to answer this question, because scientifically we know that it helps to target and reduce inflammation and protect your body and cells from free radicals. And 80% of health disorders, diseases, and conditions are all rooted in inflammation. When we first started, Christian, inflammation was not a word. People didn't even know what inflammation is. They always said that infection. And we have done some amazing work in terms of introducing this term to people, and help people to understand why, by reducing inflammation in their body, in their cells, they're actually going to experience these health benefits in their lives.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. And look, I think a lot of the health benefits you get from reducing inflammation impact some other parts of your life that maybe you don't even realize they could potentially impact. And I'd love to have a discussion about some of those things. For example, about a weight. So that is something that just for entirety of human history, people have worried about. So let's have a proper talk about that, especially with those various weight loss drugs that people are injecting themselves with, on the market. But there's some other ones as well. I was reading recently about an epidemic of loneliness, which is really like what's going on in
It's
society in terms of mental health and
It's
things like
ironic,
this.
isn't it? In the world where we are all connected like never before, suddenly we're all feeling lonely.
But then everyone's like lost in their doom scrolling. I mean, everyone does that, sits in front of their television. Just think about, 5 or 10 years ago, you weren't doing that. What were you doing with your time when you weren't doom scrolling? I just can't even remember.
I actually can't even remember. But I want to touch a little bit on the weight issues and weight loss not even supplement, weight loss drug, because recently, I don't know if you have come across this ad, Serena Williams, which is one of the greatest athletes ever walked the earth, is now actually the spokesperson for this weight loss drug. And I don't know, I just think that out of anyone, someone who trains for hours and hours, I really don't think that she needs that, and I don't think she uses that.
Well, I just think, if you look again, across human history, why is it this century that, everyone's the fattest they've ever been or the least healthy they've ever been or whatever? I'm probably not allowed to say the word fattest. I'm not allowed to, sorry, I'm
I
not allowed
did
to.
promise you that it will be something that is so visceral and so open. Apparently, Christian just said the F word.
Yeah, I'm not allowed. I, I do, I do understand, but sometimes you kind of have to, if you want to talk about these things, you kind of have to call it as it is. And
I
you
agree.
need
I
to,
agree.
you need to cut through that, and
Don't beat around the bushes.
no, yeah. Obviously, you have need for some people to do it in a very sensitive way, but there's some big questions to ask here about the health of our society. Even sure, we have an abundance of food and availability and all that sort of stuff, but what's going wrong? I mean, but off the weight thing, also the sort of rise of these wellness influencers, I don't think necessarily is an overly positive thing because, again, a lot of them kind of aren't science backed and that
Well,
sort of go.
one of the very famous influencers actually just said that our skin is detoxing our body. Like, I got a lot of emails from our customers asking that, is it true that our skin is a detox organ? And I answered the question, not realizing that somebody actually out there telling people this just because they're selling some skin products. And I get that you want to make money, you want to convince people to take your product, but you also have to have some good ethics, because people are taking health supplement to be healthy. When you are pushing something that actually does the opposite, I have a supplement company too, but it shouldn't be that way.
I think one of the rules we made at the very, very beginning of starting all of this was that you weren't going to have a sustainable, and I firmly believe this, you weren't going to have a sustainable company without integrity. Your products have to have integrity.
They have to work, and Christian and I made a commitment that we will never release a product that doesn't work, and we will never release a product that we ourselves will not take on a daily basis. Remember when we were being convinced, or we were being asked to do gummies?
Yeah, I know. That's a perfect example, and we know that you just don't get
And
enough
remember
of the active ingredients.
the amount of that contract that we were offered,
Oh, absolutely ridiculous.
and we were like, we well, to our credit, on the spot in the meeting, we said no, because I can't, every fiber of my scientific being, I can't actually, it will actually be a point of contention if anyone from our team would actually consider that.
Well, maybe there's a controversial episode in there where we should talk about, some of the health supplements that are actually quite common, that a lot of very large companies make that do absolutely nothing for you. Potentially,
And I'm relying on you people, 10,000 of our community, to defend me when they come at me online.
we might.
Because Christian is not online. I'm very jealous. Christian is not online, but Dr. Vincent is. So all of you need to defend
So
me
is this
in a time.
is this the appeal if we get sued that everyone has to put in for the GoFundMe page to defend us because we've said something
Well, everybody, as I learn,
against eating apple bark or something, a tree bark.
everybody can sue everyone, but just because you can sue someone doesn't mean that you should.
That's very true. But getting back to the topic, I mean, this is the reason why we only have 3 tablets in our range. we just do an immunity, we do the apple a day tablet, which is the original, and then we do the mental resilience because we really actually had a commitment to mental health, and we wanted to put something out there that
That's and that has come in handy in the past I don't know 6 months because of all of the tariffs that comes out of the US. We are pushing through and we're making a lot of good strides in our US market ever since we launched in March, but never before I have found our own mental resilience product to be that useful, because believe you me, without that and with all the time zones and time zone differences and everything working with our Chicago team, I wouldn't be able to get a good sleep.
But it's mental health is now actually like really front and center in terms of everyone's thinking across the Western world. So we should do an entire podcast on that, because mental health really impacts all different areas of your life. You were talking about the kitchen, the garden, the bedroom. You know, all of those are impacted by mental health. And
As you were saying, the bedroom, I just want to remind people that a lot of people don't think about it, but our brain is our biggest sexual organ.
This sounds like a topic we need to cover, and I'd love to have a chat about cholesterol. The am I saying that right?
So, Christian, I wouldn't say that. Okay, it's cortisol.
Cortisol. There you go.
Well, there's the reason why I'm the science person in this company, right? Because
I'm obviously not.
he can handle all of the cash flow and everything, but when it comes to cortisol, it's me.
So I'd love that. I'd love to have a chat about that. And the other thing I'd like to have a chat about at some stage is artificial sweetness, because my biggest bias.
Oh, hang on a second.
Yeah.
I want to keep. I think you're going to come out with something controversial that you do every day, but I want to keep that. We need to get people to get interested and tuning in every week, so we can't give them everything.
Okay.
But I would like to talk about the artificial sweetener and your quote unquote addiction to it.
I have a bit of an addiction to artificial sweetness. And then maybe we can also at some stage have a talk about, people sort of over medicating and that sort of stuff. Although I guess that's a pretty, we need to be a bit careful around there, because we don't want to discourage anyone from taking medications or anything like that.
And I'll take the opportunity to do a little bit of disclaimer. We are doing this as a general information. Even when we talk about health, medication, symptoms, and all of the things that has to do with your body, we are not your medical doctors. So we are not in any way diagnosing or treating or giving health advice that replaces real diagnosis and advice that you can get from your health practitioner. So whilst they're all rooted in science, everybody's condition is different, everybody's situation is different, and we can't possibly cover for every single person.
No, that's absolutely right. And thank you for reminding us of that. A lot of, I know, these healthcare influencers and things like that, they don't remind people of that. But it really talks.
I hope their insurance is really
Yeah,
good.
I know, but more than insurance, it talks to the integrity.
Yes.
Of what of what we're trying to do.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for those of you who are tuning in live. So let me just tell you how this works. We are recording live, just like concerts, like when musicians doing their concert live and then they will release the recording. We'd like to think that we will rock your world scientifically when it comes to health and wellness. So we will record our session live. We won't tell you. We won't give you any emails before, any email notification before. So make sure that you turn on your subscription button and notification button, because you might just get lucky and watch us doing this live. But we will be releasing the recording in the form of podcast and video through Substack, through our YouTube channel, and wherever you catch on for your podcast every week. And on that note, I think it's time for us to end our very first episode with Christian. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks, Dr. Visa.
Thank you. And remember, every day is your opportunity to live life healthier and happier. Thank you. Bye bye.